Welcome back. In today's class, we're going to look at the application of differential calculus in economics. We are given this question. A firm faces the demand schedule Q is equals to 200 minus 4P and cost schedule TC, which is the total cost, is equals to 0.1Q raised to the power of 3 minus 0.5Q raised to the power of 2 plus 2Q plus 8. The question is, what price will maximize the profit? Okay, let's start by writing out the parameters that we are given in the question. We are given that the demand schedule of the firm is, let me just write it, economics. Okay, economics. Okay, we are given that the demand schedule of the firm is Q is equals to, that is 200 minus 4P, and the cost schedule, which is the total cost, is equals to 0.1Q raised to the power of 3 negative 0.5Q raised to the power of 2 plus 2Q plus 8. Okay, now we are told to determine the price that will maximize the profit. Price that will maximize the profit. Okay, the meaning of that statement is that at what price will the firm sell our produce to maximize its profit? Okay, I'm going to use two methods to solve this question. Okay, let's start with the first method. You know, for a firm to maximize its profit, the marginal cost must be equal to marginal revenue. Please, I want to note that. That's the first method. First method. For a firm to maximize its profit, the marginal cost must be equal to marginal revenue. Please, I want to pen this down, okay? Just follow this carefully. You're going to understand it, okay? Now, the marginal cost must be equal to the marginal revenue. Now, when we talk about marginal cost means the derivative of total cost, okay? From your basic economics, when we talk about marginal cost is equal to the derivative of total cost, and marginal revenue is equal to the derivative of total revenue. Please, just pay attention, okay? Now, having known the meaning of marginal cost and marginal revenue, but from this question, we are told to find the price that the firm will sell out its produce in order to maximize profit. To determine the price, we first need to get the quantity that it must sold in order to maximize profit. Are you getting what I'm saying? To get the price that will maximize the profit, we first need to determine the quantity that the firm must sold out in order to make profit. You know that, take for instance, the firm cannot make any profit without selling the quantity out. The quantity at that point is what we want to determine first before we can determine the price that the firm will sell our produce out in order to maximize our profit. Do you understand? Okay, now let us determine the quantity. To determine the quantity, I need the marginal cost function and the marginal revenue function. Now, to get the marginal cost function, I have to differentiate the total cost function. Do you understand? But the total cost function has been given in the question, which is this. So the derivative of the total cost function will give me the marginal cost function. So let us proceed. For this, the total cost function is 0.1Q raised to the power of 3 minus 0.5Q raised to the power of 2 plus 2Q, this is Q, okay, plus 2Q plus 8. Okay, now the derivative of the total cost, which is the TC over the Q, is equals to 3 multiplied by 0.1Q raised to the power of 3 minus 1. According to your basic rules of calculus, you know, there is a rule known as the power rule. You understand? The power rule is this. Let's say we are given y is equals to x raised to the power of n. The derivative of y, which is dy over dx, will be equals to the power will multiply the coefficient. So I'm going to have n multiplied by x raised to the power of n minus 1. Do you understand? So that's what I just do. You can see that this is the power. The power come and multiply the coefficient. The coefficient is what? 0.1. Then the power reduced by 1. Do you understand? So now let us proceed. For this, I'm going to have negative 2, the power will multiply the coefficient. 2 multiplied by 0.5 q raised to the power of 2 minus 1. The power will multiply the coefficient and the power will reduce by 1. You understand? So, minus 1 plus, you can see that the power on the top of this q is 1. So, 1 multiplied by 2 is what? 2. You understand? So, I'm going to have 1 multiplied by 2 q raised to the power of 1 minus 1. Do you understand? Plus, now, if you differentiate a constant in differential calculus, if you differentiate a constant, you are going to get 0. Okay? So, we didn't need that constant. So, there is no need of writing plus 0. Okay? So, now let us proceed. The TC over dq is equals to 3 multiplied by 0.1, that is 0.3. 0.3 q raised to the power of 3 minus 1, that is 2. Negative 2 multiplied by 0.5, that is negative 1. And negative 1 multiplied by q, that is q. You understand? So, we are going to have negative 1q, which is also the same thing as negative q raised to the power of 1. Please, do you understand how I got this? Look at this. If you multiply 2 by 0.5, you are going to get 1. 1 multiplied by q, that is q. Q raised to the power of 2 minus 1, that is q raised to the power of 1. Q raised to the power of 1 is what I have here, which is also the same thing as what? Q. Do you understand? Okay, let's proceed. Plus, okay, now look at that 1 times 2q raised to the power of 1 minus 1. From this point, q raised to the power of minus 1 is what? Q raised to the power of 0. And according to the laws of indices, q raised to the power of 0 is what? 1. You understand? So for this, I'm going to have plus 2. Because by the time you multiply 1 times 2 times q raised to the power of 0, which is what? 1 times 2 times 1, which is what? 2. That's why I got 2 here. Okay? So now let us proceed. Having gotten the TC over the Q, now the next step is that we should get our the marginal revenue. The marginal revenue is the derivative of total revenue. Don't forget that derivative means differentiation. So now we have to determine the total revenue. How do we determine the total revenue? The total revenue, now, revenue refers to the amount of money, the income gotten from the sales of a product. That is what is called revenue. Are you get what I'm saying? And revenue is the product of the price and the quantity sold out. Do you understand? Please, I want you to note that revenue is equals to price times quantity. Do you understand? Okay? Since you have this knowledge, you can see that Q is equals to what? Q is equals to 200 minus 4p. Now, we have to get the revenue. Don't forget that revenue, which is R, is equals to price times quantity. But we are given Q is equals to 400 minus 4p. Now, I will make P the subject of the relation. Please, just pay attention, okay? I will make P the subject of the relation. So now, from this equation, let me call this equation star. Make P the subject of the relation. I'm going to have Q is equals to 200 minus 4p. Let's make P the subject of the relation. So I'm going to have, move negative 4p to the other side of this equation. It will change to what? Positive p. You understand? So I'm going to have positive p plus q is equals to 200. So 4p is equals to 200 minus q. Okay? So p is equals to 200 minus q all over 4. Do you understand? So I have made P the subject of the relation. So having done this, we can determine our revenue. Don't forget that revenue is equals to price times quantity. And price is what? 200 minus Q over 4. So revenue, which is R, is equals to 200 minus Q all over 4 multiplied by Q. Do you understand? Don't forget that revenue is equals to price times quantity. And from this equation, price is what? 200 minus Q over 4. So I multiply 200 minus Q over 4 by the quantity, which is Q. Do you understand? So the revenue is equals to what? Which is total revenue. Total revenue, okay? Call it total revenue. Total revenue. Total revenue is equals to, now multiply Q. Q multiply 200, that is 200Q. 200Q, okay? Q multiplied by negative Q, that is negative Q squared. Negative Q squared all over 4. Do you understand? So that is the total revenue. Now, having gotten the total revenue, we have to determine the marginal revenue. You understand? The marginal revenue is the derivative of the total revenue. So we are going to take the differentiation of the total revenue that we just got. The total revenue is equals to 200 q minus q squared all over 4. Now, we have gotten to this point. From the equation that I gave you, marginal revenue is equals to derivative of the total revenue. You understand? So now, let us take the derivative of the total revenue. Looking at this question, which of the differentiation rule are you going to employ to differentiate this function? We are going to make use of the quotient rule. You understand? The quotient rule of differential calculus, that is the differentiation rule that we are going to employ to differentiate this function. So now, don't forget that quotient rule is u over v. So quotient rule is, let's say we have y is equals to u over v. Derivative of y, which is y prime, is equals to v du minus u dv all over v squared. Do you understand? Please, this thing is very simple. The question is simple. You understand? You just have to pay attention. Look at this. We have gotten to this point. This is the total revenue that we are given. You can see that this function is in quotient form. That is, we have a function on the numerator and we have another function at the denominator. You understand? And according to differential calculus, there is a rule that is known as quotient rule. That will state that if you are given a function that is in quotient form, we are going to differentiate it using this. We are going to use this method to differentiate it. You understand? So now let us proceed. From this function, u is the numerator and v is the denominator. U is the numerator and v is the denominator. Now, let's use this function and let's use this approach. The TR is equals to v. V is what? The denominator. You understand? So v, which is 4, multiplied by the u. If you differentiate u, look at this. U is what? U is 200q minus q squared. Okay? Now, if you differentiate u, that is the u over the q is equals to what? 200 minus 2q. Do you understand how I got this? If you, let me just show it to you. Look at this. The u over the q is equals to 200 q raised to the power of 1 minus 1. Because this one will multiply the coefficient, which is 200. That is also give me 200. 1 minus 1 is 0. Q raised to the power of 0 is what? 1. That's how I got 200 here. You understand? So, for the second part, which is what? That will be what? Minus 2. That is 2 multiplied by minus q raised to the power of 2 minus 1. So 2 multiplied by minus q, that is minus 2q. Q raised to the power of 2 minus 1, that is q raised to the power of 1. So that's how I got 200 minus 2q. Do you understand? If you didn't understand, reverse the video and watch it again, okay? So now let's proceed. For this, I'm going to have 4 multiplied by 200. Oh, let me change the marker. 4 multiplied by 200 minus 2q. So I have taken the derivative, I have taken this part. Now let's move to the second part. Minus u. U is what? The numerator. Please just pay attention, okay? Look at this. This is the quotient rule formula, okay? V is the denominator. U is the numerator. V du, that is V, which is the denominator, multiplied by the derivative of the numerator. And I explain the derivative of the numerator here. Minus u. U is what? Numerator. So I'm going to have minus into brackets 200 q minus q squared. Let me just erase this, okay? I'm going to write it somewhere else so that it won't disturb our solution. 200 minus q squared multiplied by derivative of v. This is the quotient formula, okay? Derivative of y is equals to v du minus u dv all over v squared, okay? So let's proceed. If you multiply this by the derivative of v, derivative of v is 0, because if you differentiate a constant according to differential calculus, you're going to get what? 0. So this will be what? 0 all over v squared, which is what? 4 squared. Do you understand how I got this? If you didn't understand, reverse the video and watch it again, okay? This is my u. U is what? 200q minus q squared. That's how I have it here. The v, if you differentiate 4, which is v, we will got what? 0. You understand? So all over b squared, that is 4 squared, because according to the formula we have the numerator as a square, and that is we are going to take the square of the denominator of our function, that is the square of 4. That's how I have 4 square here. So the derivative of TR, that is the TR, is equals to, now look at this, if you multiply 0 by all this, you are going to get 0. You understand? So I'm left with 4 multiplied by 200. 4 multiplied by 200 minus 2q all over 16. You understand? Because 4 times 4 is what? 16. Okay? So now I can divide this 4 here 1, the TR is equals to 4 here 1, 4 in 16, that is 2. So I'm left with what? 200. Just pay attention, okay? 4 here 1, 4 in 16, that is 4. You understand? So I'm left with what? 200 minus 2q all over 4. Do you understand how I got this? So the derivative of the total revenue function is what? 200 minus 2q all over 4. So the marginal revenue function MR is equals to 200 minus 2q all over 4. Do you understand how I got this? Don't forget that the first step is that I first determine my marginal cost. The marginal cost is the derivative of the total cost, and this is the marginal cost. Okay, this is the marginal cost. Now, after getting the marginal cost, I calculate the revenue, the total revenue. You understand? This is the total revenue. Okay, this is the total revenue. The total revenue is the product of P and Q. That is the product of price and the quantity sold out. And they have given me that the demand schedule is Q is equals to 200 minus 4P. So I make P the subject of the relation. Then I multiply P by Q to get the total revenue. After getting the total revenue, I differentiate it to get the marginal revenue. That's it. So let us write our marginal cost out. The marginal cost is equals to 0.3Q squared. 0.3Q squared minus Q plus 2. You understand? And the marginal revenue is equals to 200 minus 2q all over 4. Okay, now don't forget that I told you for a firm to start making profit, the marginal cost must be equals to marginal revenue. You understand? That is the reason why we calculate the marginal cost and marginal revenue. So I'm going to equate both, okay? I'm going to equate MC is equals to MR. The quantity at this point is what I want to find. You understand? I'm very sure you understand what I just said. Look at this. We are told to determine the price that the firm will sell out its goods to maximize the profit. But there is no way the firm can maximize its profit without selling out its goods. That quantity that the firm will sold out, that is what I want to determine here. You understand? Because for a firm to maximize its profit, the marginal cost must be equal to the marginal revenue. You understand? So just pay attention. Don't forget that marginal cost function is this: 0.3q squared minus q plus 2 is equals to MR. Marginal revenue is 200 minus 2q all over 4. You understand? Okay? Now, the next step is that we are going to cross multiply. Okay? So this over 1 is equals to 200 minus 2q all over 4. We are going to cross multiply. 4 will multiply this and 1 will multiply this. So I'm going to have 4 into bracket 0.3q raised to the power of 2 minus q plus 2 is equals to 200 minus 2q, because 1 multiplied by 200 minus 2q will still give me what? 200 minus 2q. Do you understand? Okay, let me erase this. Okay, now 4 multiplied by 0.3, that is 1.2. So I'm going to have 1.2q raised to the power of 2 minus 4q plus 8. You understand? 4 multiplied by 0.3, it gave me this. Then 4 multiplied minus q, that is minus 4q. 4 multiplied by 2, that is plus 8. Okay, is equals to 200 minus 2q. Okay, please just pay attention. Now we have gotten to this point. We are going to collect like terms. Okay, I'm going to move all this to the other side of this equation. Okay, so I'm going to have 1.2q squared minus 4q plus 8 if 200 is coming to the underside of the equation, don't forget that the sign at the front of 200 is positive. So the sign will change to negative. So I'm going to have negative 200 because the sign at the front of Q is positive 2. So I'm going to, the sign is going to change to positive. Oh, it is negative 2Q. So the sign is going to change to positive 2Q as it crosses the equals to sign. You understand? So I'm going to have positive 2Q is equals to 0. You understand? If I may ask you, which equation does this look like in mathematics? This looks like a quadratic equation because the highest power of the polynomial is 2. You understand? So let's proceed. For this, I'm going to have 1.2Q squared. Okay, now look, minus 4Q. We have negative 4Q here. We have positive 2Q here. Negative 4Q, positive 2Q. That we got negative 2Q. You understand? Just like negative 4, positive 2. That is what? Negative 2. You understand? So for this, I'm going to have negative 2Q. Okay, now look at this. We have positive 8, negative 200. That is plus 8 minus 200. That is what? Negative 192. So I'm going to have negative 192 is equals to 0. Now, I want you to solve this. Pause this video. Solve this quadratic equation using the general formula method. Then, write your answer somewhere. Then, play the video and watch the video. You understand? Let's solve this using the general formula of quadratic equation. Don't forget that the general formula is x is equals to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. But right now, we are not looking for x. We want to determine the value of q. Okay? We are not looking for x. We want to determine the value of q. So, I'm going to represent s as q. So, I'm going to have q is equals to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? So now, the a is the coefficient of x squared. Okay, the coefficient of q squared. You understand? I forgot that we are not looking at the parameter that we are looking for is not x. We want to determine the value of q. Okay? So the coefficient of q squared is a. That means a is what? 1.2. Okay? A is 1.2. And the coefficient of q is b. So b is what? Negative 2. Okay? And the coefficient of c is the constant. Oh, sorry. The c is the constant. Okay? C is constant. And the constant in this equation is what? Negative 192. Negative 192. Do you understand how I got this? If you didn't understand, reverse the video and watch it again. Look at this. The formula, the general formula of quadratic equation is this. But I'm not looking for x. I'm looking for q. So I represent x as q. You understand? So based on what I have here, the coefficient of q square is my a. Okay? And b is the coefficient of q. You understand? And the constant term is c. Okay? So let's proceed. For this, I'm going to have q. Just substitute the value that you have there. Q is equals to negative b. Negative b. B is what? Negative 2. So I'm going to have negative into bracket negative 2. You understand? You know we have negative here. This is negative. And b itself is what? Negative 2. So I have negative 2. Do you understand? Plus or minus square root of b squared. B is what? Negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 squared. Negative 2 squared. Negative 4 multiplied by a. A is what? Negative 1.2. 1.2 multiplied by c is negative 192. Negative 192. You understand? If you didn't understand, just reverse the video and watch it again. Okay? All over 2a. 2 multiplied by a. A is what? 1.2. So I'm going to have 1.2. Do you understand to this point? Okay? Now let us proceed. All I did is that I just substitute the value of ABC into this formula. Okay? And I got to this place. Now Q will be equals to negative 2. That is what? Positive 2. So I'm going to have 2 plus or minus square root of negative 2 squared. That is what? Negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2. That is what? Positive 4. Which is also the same as what? 4. So I'm going to have 4 minus 4 into bracket negative, 1.2 multiplied by negative 192. That will give me negative 230.4. Negative 230.4. Okay, just like I take the product of what is inside this bracket. Okay, I've not done anything, I'm just simplifying. Okay, so that's it. Let's proceed. For this, I'm going to have all over 2 multiplied by 1.2, that is 2.4. Okay, so I'm going to have 2.4 here. Please, do you understand how I am simplifying this? If you didn't understand, reverse the video and watch it again. Okay, let's pay attention. Q is equals to 2 plus or minus square root of 4. Now, multiply negative 4, because look at this. It is important to pay attention here. This is not minus 4 minus 230.4, because we have a bracket here. This minus 4 will multiply everything inside this bracket. You understand? So I'm going to have negative 4 times negative 230.4, and that will give us 921.6. 921, that is positive 921.6, because negative times negative is just like having negative times negative 230.4. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 230.4 is what? 921.6. So that's how I got 921.6 here. Okay, divided by 2.4. Okay, let's proceed. For this, I'm going to have Q is equals to 2 plus or minus the square root of, don't let this join together, okay, the square root of 4 plus 921.6, that is 925.6 all over 2.4. Okay, now we have gotten to this point. We are going to separate the Q into 2 because we have plus or minus sign. Okay, do you understand how we got here? I just add 4 plus 921.6, that gave me 925.6. You understand? So I've not done anything. Now you know that we have plus or minus here. You understand? So Q will be equals to, I'm going to separate it, positive and negative. I'm going to separate it. I'm going to write it separately. That is 925.6 all over 2.4, or Q is equals to 2 minus, just like writing this, because I took positive, I put it here, then I separate the negative. You understand? That is 2 minus the square root of 925.6 all over 2.4. Okay, so for this, I'm going to have Q is equals to square root of 925.6, that is 30.424. 32 plus 30.424 all over 2.4. Okay, for this, I'm going to have Q is equals to 2 minus 30.424 all over 2.4. Okay, now let's proceed. 2 plus 30.424, that is 32.424 all over 2.4. So for this, I'm going to have Q is equals to negative 28.424 all over 2.4. So if you divide both sides, if you divide both Q by 2.4, this is not 2.5, it is 2.4. Okay, sorry, this is 2.4. Do you understand? So if you divide both Q by 2.4, the positive Q will be equals to 13.51. Okay, and this will be equals to Q is equals to negative 11.84. But we are not going to choose the negative one. We are going to choose the positive Q. So Q is equals to 13.51. Now we have determined the value of Q. That is the quantity that the firm was sold out in order to maximize profit. Now we want to know the price that this quantity must be sold out. That is what the question was talking about. You understand? Don't forget that we are given that the demand schedule is Q is equals to 200 minus 4P. And when I make the price the subject of the relation, I got that is 200 minus Q all over 4. That is the price schedule. Now, to determine the price that will maximize the profit, I'm going to substitute the value of Q as 13.51. Don't forget that the Q that we got there is 13.51. Okay, don't choose the negative Q. Okay, don't choose the negative Q. Always choose the positive Q. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute the value of Q as 13.51. So P is 200 minus Q, which is 13.51 all over 4. I'm going to have P is equals to 200 minus 13.51. That is 186.49. 0.49 all over 4. So the price which the firm must sell out the quantity to maximize its profit is 46.62. 46.62. You can put naira. If the question is in naira, you can put dollar, you can put any the unit that they give you. You understand? So this is the price that the firm must sold out in order to maximize profit. This is the first method. To watch the second method, check the description or the first comment of this video. You understand? Click on the link that is there to watch the second method. See you in the next class.